Well, there seems to be no end to home price increases in Atlanta. Many other comparable markets around the country are seeing 3 to 4% year over year price reductions. I'm talking about places like Denver, Seattle, Tampa, and Austin. And Miami alone is down 11% year over year, probably because of the insufferable heat and humidity down in Florida. But Atlanta keeps defying gravity. Prices keep on going up. If you remember last month, I noted that we've had a pretty significant increase in inventory in Atlanta, which brought new listings to the highest point in nearly 5 years. But June's new listings came in 14% lower than the 5-year rolling average. And as a result, prices jumped 5% year over year. Let's look at my chart of the Atlanta median sales price year over year. This last column shows the change every month this year compared to the same month last year. Looking at these numbers, you can probably do the math in your head. You can pretty clearly see that Atlanta home prices are up an average of over 6% per month from last year. June's median sales price finished at $450,000, which means half the houses sell for above $450,000 and half below. For reference, the current national median sales price is $421,000, so Atlanta is about 7% higher than the national median. So real quick, if you're new to the channel, we have an extensive library of videos spotlighting some of Atlanta's best in-town neighborhoods, places like Brookhaven, City of Decatur, Virginia Highlands, and more. So if you're interested in doing a deep dive into the neighborhoods around Atlanta, please check the description box below and look for the link there. Now, one thing I wanted to note is how important cash is in the current home buying environment in Atlanta. Cash is, of course, always king, but it's taken on a new significance in the era of high interest rates. Cash is even more important now because sellers always look at the big picture. If a potential buyer has a 21-day financing contingency and there's another cash offer on the table, the seller is almost always going to take the cash offer. Now, why is this? The first reason is to get a quick closing. Most cash buyers can close in 2 weeks or less. For a seller, this gets the deal done in less time and with far less risk than a financing contingency. Imagine if you're a seller and you're working with someone that had a 21-day financing contingency, and on the 21st day, they alert you that we could not secure the financing, so we're canceling the deal and we're entitled to a refund of our earnest money. Well, as a seller, you've had your house off the market for 3 full weeks. You're not marketing it, not showing it to anybody else, and that's a pretty bad thing to happen if you're trying to get rid of a house. Especially in today's market where houses just simply fly off the market, you shouldn't be tied up with a contingency trying to get the house closed. In addition, most cash buyers are fairly savvy. They look at their comps, they do their homework, so they end up waiving the appraisal contingency as well. So if you're a home seller, you're not worried that appraisal contingency is going to come in low. Again, it usually takes a couple of weeks to get an appraisal. You don't want to have your house under contract for a couple of weeks and then the appraiser has a bad day and the appraisal comes in, 5% lower than your listing price or your contract price. Suddenly now you've got to either negotiate a price reduction or you got to go back on the market. So all of these things weigh in favor of accepting cash offers. So as a first-time home buyer, how do you compete with a cash offer? You're out there, you're struggling, and I really, really feel your pain. I really do, because my first house, which I bought in 1997, I paid $92,000 for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house in Avondale Estates. $92,000, and I really, really feel your pain if you're out there trying to buy a house in today's market. So how do you compete? If you're a first-time home buyer, how do you compete with a cash buyer? Well, the number one thing you can do to increase your odds of winning a competitive bid is to get fully pre-approved. Now, different lenders, different mortgage lenders have different phrases that they use: pre-approval, pre-qualification, things like that. What you want to ask them is you want to be fully underwritten. You want them to do all of their homework, gather all of the documentation they're going to need to close the financing on that property, go ahead and get it to underwriting, have it fully underwritten. That's really the phrase you're actually looking for there. You want to be fully underwritten, which puts you in the position of being a cash buyer. Now, one thing that does not do for you, it doesn't allow you to waive the appraisal contingency because, of course, the house has to appraise for what you're paying for it so that the bank, the lender, can maintain the collateral. But if you're in the position of being a cash buyer and you're able to go in and make an offer and waive that financing contingency because you're already fully underwritten, suddenly you're out there and you can compete with these cash buyers. So that's a great tip if you're a first-time home buyer. It's also a great tip if you've, recently sold a home, maybe you've got some cash, but you still need to originate a mortgage. I would go ahead and go through that full underwriting process again to make sure that you're not having any financing contingency that might prevent a seller from accepting your offer. That is the number one thing you can do to win a house in today's competitive market. Getting fully underwritten puts you in the game when cash buyers are your main competition. So as always, if you're thinking of making the move to Atlanta or you're thinking of buying an investment property in Atlanta, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is in the box below. Love to talk to people, love to help them make a move or an investment in Atlanta. Thanks for watching.